Module 3, how do I build and manage critical relationships to increase my effectiveness? All right, are we ready to go, folks? We have some great tools here, some really good stuff about increasing our personal effectiveness. So how do you manage and build these critical relationships? First thing, again, I know we're reiterating a couple of things, but it's because they are so important, and that is your attitude is the control center of your life. If you want to be effective, you've got to work on the attitude. There are two different elements of attitude. Attitude can be what's happening internally. That means you feel excited, you feel focused, you feel happy to be a part of the team. That's not enough. You have to have those emotions and those experiences expressed through your body language and, yes, your facial expressions. Ask other people, how do I come across? Are you smiling? Are you focused? What are some of the things that you do to be effective? These are deliberate choices that we make. It doesn't just happen on the whim for some of us. The other thing is that successful relationships build with a desire to be a part of them, and that desire is communicated through, yes, our attitude. All right. So what are some things to build and manage relationships? Let's look at the building part, okay? Building. Again, you're going to make a key list of stakeholders, evaluate those needs, find a way to provide value, and you're going to participate in some important meetings and conferences. You all have an opportunity for a conference that is coming up. You want to participate in that, an amazing networking opportunity to attend the BEA or the Women of Color Conference, because it is there where you can begin this journey of building effective relationships. So now that's the building part. So we're building things. Once it's built, once you make these initial connections, what do you do to manage? Well, this is where you begin to use all these skills that we're talking about. Not just in your organization, but we're talking about the external piece. Understanding expectations, asking for feedback. Are you able to connect with an HR professional, with an HR manager, with someone that's been leading for a long time, and ask them, tell me a little bit about your perspective on my professionalism. What do you think a young professional needs to know in this business landscape? Some very important keys here, some questions that you can ask others in order for you to get great feedback. The other piece in maintaining relationships is you want to approach and manage conflict. With these external relationships, a conflict can be something as simple as they don't get back to you. They're very busy. And so you might feel a little bit overlooked. That could be an internal conflict that you want to say to yourself, well, they're busy, I'm going to keep trying, and maybe there's something that I could do for them to be able to build this relationship or manage this relationship. And lastly, you just want to make sure that in these relationships that you stay connected. Again, we're talking about this in a very broad sense. I know we feel like we're in fluffy land, but we are not. There are some very specific choices you want to make to build and manage effective relationships. All right. So how do you increase this effectiveness? So there are three really critical skills that you want to think about. We've talked about the attitude, but the other piece is maintaining this emotional intelligence. I'll talk to you about that in just a second. And the other piece is, what does it mean for you to stay energized and focused? I want you to think about right now, and I'm going to do this with you. How are you even watching this video? So this is a learning opportunity. Are you sitting up straight? Do you feel energized? Sometimes if I eat too many donuts or too much sugar, it completely knocks me out. So I have to do protein and veggies just to stay focused and energized. Is your mind clear? Are you focused? Are you in a learning mode? And what does that look like for you? All right, it's okay for those of you that are sitting in your bed. But hopefully you're sitting up straight and you're ready to fill your mind with some good strategies. Emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman is the person that started this whole movement on emotional intelligence in the workplace. Wonderful, wonderful man. Has done a lot of great work in this area. I personally think that it is one of the foundational skills for personal effectiveness. So what is emotional intelligence? Well, I'll tell you. It is a greater predictor of success than IQ. IQ is your intellectual quotient. Emotional intelligence is your emotional quotient. So intellect is what you know. Emotions are how you manage your emotions to be able to think about your behavior and your choices that happen based on those emotions. Really important there. It's your ability to be aware of the role emotions play in your behavior and the behavior of others. It's the opportunity to connect and manage reactions. And it is the number one, Yes. Number one key part of customer service. I'm going to take a quick brain break here. What I mean by brain break is I'm going to tell you what's happening inside of your brain. So everybody, if you can just put your hands on your head like this, let me explain emotional intelligence to you. It's very interesting. So when you have an emotion, right, the amygdala, which is right here in the back of your head, I won't mess up my hair too much here, but right here in the back of your head, the amygdala is where emotions happen. When you are threatened, and back in the day it was lions and tigers and bears, oh my, but when you are threatened, this amygdala can actually be attacked. And let me tell you what happens. When this amygdala is attacked, your frontal cortex actually shuts down so you cannot think clearly. So let me explain this a little bit more. Back in the day when you were running from lions and tigers and bears, oh my, what the intention was for your brain was for you to be afraid, and they didn't want you to say, there is a lion, I am going to run, I'm going to go up the tree, and then by that time, folks, you would have been eaten. So what happens is the amygdala forces us to react. Now, I don't know about you folks, but most of us are not in a situation where lions and tigers and bears, oh my, are attacking us. But coworkers, bosses, and customers have become our lions and tigers and bears. So what's happening to you with emotional intelligence is if someone does something or says something, which you might have heard this term, those are fighting words. They say something to you, it attacks that amygdala, and your frontal cortex actually goes blank. So you cannot think straight. So the ability to be effective is to be able to make sure that that emotional center of your brain is not reactive, but you are proactive to the emotional stimuli that we are constantly getting. Really important piece. Last example of this, have you ever been in a situation, here you are, you're talking to someone, and you have all this stuff you want to say, a boss is letting you have it, and you just want to say something, and then after you leave, you remember all the things that you wanted to say, but at the time, you couldn't think of one good thing to say. That is one example of how your amygdala can attack your frontal cortex. This is emotional intelligence. And so we need to be able to understand that, because as human beings, we are emotional beings. And so if we are not intelligent, if we are not strategic about how we manage this brain, the heart, the emotions, that it puts us in a very weakened state of mind because we cannot think logically and we cannot connect to the goal. All right, I did promise that was my last action step, my last example, excuse me, but I have one more quick example because it's something I'm struggling with, folks, and you might be too. Anybody out there ever tried to lose weight? I don't know, some of the gentlemen out there maybe with quick metabolisms may not be able to relate to this, but here is what happens. You start a diet, you're really excited. Really excited. You're eating well, you're exercising. All of a sudden, you're at this wonderful event, and there they are. There are cream puffs right there over at the table. And before you know it, you're eating the cream puff, and you cannot even remember where that goal, that excitement, that motivation for losing weight went. Where did it go? It was almost as if it disappeared. Folks, once again, that was your amygdala attacking your logical sensor. You are unable, sometimes in that moment, to stay connected to your brain. Which is why, as you meet goals, this is why we have accountability partners. This is why we have vent sessions, because it is an effort to be able to stay connected to the logical sensors of our brain. I say all this to say, folks, that you are not alone. We all experience this. So we have to invest in strategies to communicate effectively and become more emotionally intelligent. All right, let's take a look at a case study. Are we ready? We're going to talk to Sarah. EQ in action. Let's look at this as a case study. Let me introduce you to Sarah. So Sarah gets a call from the customer. The customer is very angry about a product that he received. The customer says to Sarah, I can't believe how crazy you people are. If you don't fix this, I'll never buy from this company again. Oh, he's angry. How would you respond? What do you say? Here's a customer, very irate. What is the emotionally intelligent response? So what do you want to say, and what should you say? Think about that for just a second. All right, let me give you the answers here. This is Sarah as an EQ thinker. And again, we're not going to talk quite yet specifically about what she should say, but we have to talk about what she should be thinking. Here are some things that she can be thinking. It makes me angry when I am disrespected. So you're acknowledging that yes, you are feeling this feeling. You're not saying this to the customer, folks, you're thinking this. I though understand that this is not personal. This person is not attacking me in any way. They're actually really upset about their product. My role here is to put the customer at ease. What do I need to do that? This is not about me. It might be a little irrational even, or illogical for me to be so upset about someone else's challenge with their product. It's not my product, right? The outcome of this conversation has far more impact on the customer, far more meaning to the customer than it does to me personally. So these are the kinds of thinking strategies that should be going through your mind that support you in crafting the right behavioral response. So here is Sarah's EQ-friendly response. I'm sorry that this happened. If I were in your shoes and got a faulty product, I too would be upset. You're showing empathy. Wouldn't you agree? Bought something from a company, it was defective, he's angry, right? Let me get the facts so I can see if there's a way that I can improve your experience. I'm calm, I'm collective, I'm in my role. All right. That's her EQ response. So how can you use EQ to build better relationships? Here's a couple things that you can do. This again, folks, is your checklist. Pay attention to verbal cues of others. So being emotionally intelligent also means that you are managing other people and you are aware of what's going on around you. Very, very important. Invest in personal self-awareness, another big key. What are your triggers? What do you often do? Understand what happens and make choices, what happens to you often, and make choices to support you in having better responses. Know those triggers and find creative ways to manage them. Learn how to communicate with clarity. It's great to understand how you're feeling so that by the time you can communicate, you're not blah, blah, blah. You're actually calming down, thinking about your role, thinking about what's appropriate, and making a very deliberate choice about what you're saying. You're not just saying it, right? You're not running from the bears. And then also develop a skill. Wish we had some more time to talk about this more, but there's a skill about having difficult conversations. So some communication strategies where you can pause, listen attentively to what someone's saying, and respond in such a way that is emotionally intelligent, even in the face of a lot of conflict and challenge. Let's talk about self-management for just a second to kind of close this conversation around EQ. So self-management, sending the right nonverbal message. So there are a few things that you want to think about, and let's just not say think about, that you want to maybe do as well. Number one is your voice. What are you saying or not saying with your voice, right? What are you doing with your voice? Number two, again, we'll talk about that attitude, very important. How is that attitude expressed? And number three, your energy and your flexibility. These strategies that we're talking about are ways to improve emotional intelligence because you are working to articulate your intent, not just thinking about it, not just sort of talking about it, but you're actually showing up, and with who you are expressing and articulating deliberately what it is that you want people to understand about you and how you want people to be emotionally impacted by your presence. Really important. All right. To close this off, how do you stay energized and focused? I know that it's difficult. We're all under a lot of stress. There's lots of things to do. And so being emotionally intelligent means that even if we stay up all night watching Netflix, Hulu's, Amazon, you pick it. You pick it. I know for some of us, I've talked to some coaching clients. They said, Tal, I have to be honest with you. I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's probably why I was edgy. This is emotional intelligence at its best. Be real about what's going on with you. If you're exhausted, you probably will be more edgy and less emotionally capable to manage conflict within the workplace. That is a plug for getting your rest, unless there's certain series that you might want to continue to watch. But pick one or two. If it gets too much, you might have a problem. Anyway, let me stay energized and focused as we move through here. Remind yourself of your purpose. Why are you there? What are you doing to serve? Really important. That should help you stay focused. Show interest in the concerns and needs of others. You are there to complete a job, but you are also there to get along with people and to create morale, to create good teamwork. Really important for you to stay energized and focused. Get in the habit of asking thoughtful questions. So, how do you increase that knowledge and expertise within the workplace? You ask thoughtful questions. How do you get to know other people and what they need? You ask thoughtful questions. A very specific strategy you can do today. When you leave this, go ask someone a thoughtful question. We'll talk about that even more. Connect with others that share your same energy, goals, and values. For some of us, it's the energy that we want to have, the goals that we want to have, the values that we're hoping to uphold. Make those kinds of connections. If appropriate, try to engage others in real life conversations. Sometimes when I have these professional exchanges, people become a little bit robotic. Good afternoon. How long have you been working at your organization? Great. My name is Talia. I've been working here for 10 years. That is a little bit stale at times. You want to have real conversations. You're a leader. You've been a leader for a really long time. Help me out here. What are some things that you think I need to know to survive in this business landscape? What was something when you were at my stage in your career that you think you did that made a difference? So these are real conversations. This is real growth, real connection. And then lastly, what we put into our minds, we tend to put out into the world. And so you want to make sure that you are reading personal success and motivational books. I have a story about a friend. I have many different types of friends. Some of my friends, they spend time watching shows, they stay up on pop culture, and when we get together, that tends to be what they like to talk about. No judgment, but I tend to like to talk about motivation and success, but it's also what I tend to read about and think about often, and that's what's put out into the world. I will tell you that if I spend some time doing other things, all of a sudden I will have a desire to talk about other things. So speak in the direction that you want to go and read in the direction that you want to go. All right. Come back with us. We are going to go to Module 4. We are rocking here. More good strategies for you to build and maintain effective relationships.